morning everybody. صباح الخير. I hope that you had a peaceful and resourceful night after yesterday, first day of the conference. I'm glad to chair this panel with great honorable speakers opening our second day of the conference. I will do the presentation in Arabic language, so some of you may need the translation, and our speakers will be speaking in English and Arabic. So I will shift to the Arabic language now. And I will start by presenting myself. أنا فادي ضو من لبنان. أنا كاهن أب في الكنيسة المارونية في لبنان، الكاثوليكية المارونية. إذا لقبي أب وليس مطران كما هو موجود على البرنامج. أنا أستاذ في العلوم الدينية، الحوار الأديان والفلسفة السياسية، ولكنني هنا بصفتي خاصة رئيس مؤسسة أديان، وهي مؤسسة لبنانية تعمل على التدريب والتربية على إدارة التنوع الثقافي والديني في سياق المواطنة. أريد بداية أن أشكر المنظمين لهذا المؤتمر، مركز الدوحة للحوار، للعمل الدؤوب والممتاز الذي اعتدنا عليه ككل سنة، ولدعوتهم لنا ولضيافتهم المميزة. وعلى رأس الفريق أريد أن أشكر بشكل خاص الدكتور إبراهيم النعيمي. وأفتتح إذن هذا اليوم الثاني في جلستنا العامة بحلقة حول موضوع التحديات والفرص التي تواجه الشباب اليوم، طبعاً في سياق الحوار بين الأديان والتعددية الدينية. لن أطيل الكلام تقديماً لهذا الموضوع لكي أتيح الفرصة للمتحدثين أنفسهم لكي يحدثوننا عن هذه الإشكالية انطلاقاً من سياقات مختلفة. لدينا متحدثاً من العالم العربي من تونس، ثم متحدثين من أمريكا اللاتينية، ومتحدث من البلقان أوروبا، وربما متحدث خامس أيضاً أوروبي لازلنا ننتظر وصوله. ولكن سوف نبدأ مباشرة، ومقدمتي هي بطرح بعض الأسئلة ليس لكي يجيب عليها المتحدثون بأنفسهم، ولكن كمدخل للتفكير لنا جميعاً. والسؤال الأهم هو كيف ننتقل من اعتبار الشباب متلقين للحوار إلى إعطائهم الفرصة لكي يكونوا بأنفسهم صانعي حوار. إذا كنا نبحث عن التجدد في الحوار وفي مؤسسات الحوار والممارسات الحوارية، لابد لنا من أن نعتبر أننا نحتاج إلى الانتقال من العمل مع الشباب كمتلقين إلى إفساح المجال للشباب لكي يكونوا رواد الحوار، ولكي يدخلوا إلى الحوار بعض التجدد والإبداعية التي نحتاج. وطبعاً ذلك دونه تحديات كثيرة ربما سوف يتطرق إليها بعض المتكلمين في هذه الجلسة. أريد ختاماً أن أشكر مركز الدوحة للحوار على اختياره لهذا الموضوع في هذه السنة، في هذه الدورة من الحوار، موضوع الشباب. وأتمنى أن لا ننسى هذا الموضوع في السنوات القادمة، وأن نستفيد من لائحة المؤسسات والجمعيات والأفراد الشباب الذين يعملون في مجال الحوار لكي يصبحوا جزءاً من لائحة المدعوين أو المشاركين أو الذين نطلب إليهم أيضا أن يغنونا من خبراتهم، ليس فقط في هذه الدورة المخصصة لهم، ولكن في كل الدورات المعنية بشؤون الحوار. سوف نبدأ حلقتنا هذه بمداخلة أولى من الأستاذ الدكتور العروسي الميزوري القادم من تونس، وهو أستاذ تعليم عال في التاريخ والعلوم الإسلامية، حائز على شهادة الدكتوراه من جامعة السوربون، وهو مدير سابق للمعهد العالي لأصول الدين في تونس ومسؤول عن مجلة التنوير. له أبحاث علمية عديدة منشورة باللغتين العربية والفرنسية، وهو حاصل على وسام الاستحقاق التربوي في قطاعي التربية والتعليم. عين وزيراً للشؤون الدينية في حكومة الثورة، وهو حالياً المشرف على منتدى حوار الحضارات والأديان والثقافات في تونس منذ الأول من عام 2013. دكتور الميزوري، الكلمة لك. سوف نعطي 15 دقيقة لكل متحدث باتباعاً. شكراً، تفضل.
شكراً سيدي الرئيس. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. في البداية أريد أن أتوجه بالشكر الجزيل إلى منظمي هذا المؤتمر، وبالأخص الأستاذة الدكتورة عائشة يوسف المناعي والأستاذ الدكتور إبراهيم بن صالح النعيمي. أشكرهم على اختيار هذا الموضوع الهادف. ثانياً على كرم الضيافة. ثالثاً على حرصهم على حسن سير فعاليات هذا المؤتمر. موضوعي يتعلق بتربية الشباب المسلم على ثقافتي الحوار والتعايش مع الآخر. يندرج تناول هذا الموضوع في سياق الاهتمامات الثقافية الدولية الراهنة والسعي الدؤوب إلى الكشف عن واقع الاتصال الحضاري والثقافي بين شبابنا العربي المسلم والآخر في عالم متغير بسرعة مذهلة، إلى جانب تعميق النظر في الفرص المتاحة لتنمية كفاءات الشباب في مجال التواصل الحضاري والتربية على ثقافتي الحوار والتعايش مع الآخر. قسمنا هذا العمل إلى عناصر تتمثل في تحديد المصطلحات. العنصر الثاني حاجية الشباب الثقافية في المجتمع الإسلامي. ثالثاً استراتيجية تربية الشباب المسلم على ثقافتي الحوار والتعايش مع الآخر. وأخيراً التوصيات، أو بصورة أوضح آفاق استراتيجية تربية الشباب المسلم على ثقافتي الحوار والتعايش مع الآخر. لن أدخل في تفاصيل نظراً لضيق الوقت، لن أدخل في موضوع التعريفات، وإنما أنطلق مباشرة إلى مسألة تحديد المصطلحات في صورتها العامة. فأقول بالنسبة لكلمة الحوار، ولئن اختلفت أسس الحوار وأدواته من مجال إلى آخر، فإنه يعد قيمة محورية ورئيسية بالنسبة إلى ظروفنا الراهنة، فهو مطلب لا يمكن للإنسانية أن تستغني عنه إذا أرادت أن تعيش بمنأى عن الخلافات والانشقاقات والصراعات. فالحوار هو المنهج الصحيح للتفاهم والتعايش والتواصل بين الشعوب والأمم، فهو من أرقى مظاهر التعامل بين البشر، فضلاً عن كونه ضرورة من ضرورات الحياة وضمان استمراريتها، إذ بواسطتها تزال الحواجز ويسهل التواصل مع الآخر. بخصوص مصطلح تعايش، يبدو أن هذا المصطلح يفيد العيش المشترك بين الطرفين، بين طرفين أو أكثر على أرض واحدة في مجال أو في فضاء مشترك، أي التجاور، وهو ما يعزز قيمة ظاهرة الحوار في المجتمع الإنساني ويفرض تلاقي الإرادات من أجل تحمل المسؤوليات. فهو يتضمن إذن العلاقة السليمة بالآخرين والاعتراف بأنهم موجودون. وقد شجعت الأديان السماوية اليهودية والمسيحية والإسلام على هذا المبدأ، أي مبدأ التعايش، ولنا في ذلك نماذج يمكن الرجوع إلى النص. بخصوص العلاقة مع الآخر، يمكن تحديد هذا المفهوم من خلال الموقع أو المستوى الذي يستعمل فيه هذا اللفظ. فإذا وضعناه في المستوى الديني فإنه يعني الإنسان الذي ينتمي إلى دين آخر. أما إذا استعملناه في مستويات القومية أو العرقية فهو يفيد الانتماء إلى قومية أو عرقية أخرى. هكذا ندرك أنه في الوجود الإنساني هناك آخر ديني ومذهبي وعرقي وإثني وجغرافي واجتماعي وثقافي، بقدر ما هناك الأنا الديني. وبتعدد دوائر الأنا والذات ومستوياتها تتعدد وتتنوع دوائر الآخر ومستوياته. ويمكن تحديد مفهوم الآخر كذلك بالاستناد إلى قيمتي الهوية والاعتراف بالاختلاف. نقصد بالهوية في هذا السياق الهوية المركبة أو المتعددة الأبعاد. أما الاعتراف بالاختلاف بين البشر فهو من نواميس الحياة الإنسانية وطبائع الأمور، والمتتبع لما ورد في القرآن والسنة النبوية يدرك بوضوح أن الإسلام قد اعترف منذ أيامه الأولى بالمخالفين له من أهل الملل والنحل. لقد خص هؤلاء بمقاطع قرآنية تعرف بتوجهاتهم وتعبر عن آرائهم، كما سميت صور قرآنية بأسماء بعضهم مثل صور قريش، الأحزاب، الأنبياء إلى غير ذلك. لقد خلقنا الله تعالى مختلفين في ألواننا وألسنتنا وأذواقنا وميولاتنا وما شابه ذلك، غير أن هذا الاختلاف وفق الرؤية الإسلامية ليس مبرراً للقطيعة والتباعد، بل هو بوابة للتواصل والتعارف مع الآخر والتفاعل معه وفق عقلية حضارية تواصلية. أنتقل إلى العنصر الثاني، وهو يتمثل في حاجيات واقع الشباب الثقافية في المجتمع الإسلامي. تتمثل هذه الحاجيات في ضرورة الاعتناء بإبداعات الشباب الثقافية. فالاعتناء بهذه الإبداعات من بين المسائل التي أولاها رجال الفكر من علماء تربية واجتماع وفلسفة وتاريخ، إلى جانب المنظمات الوطنية والإقليمية والدولية العناية التي يستحقها. إذن كل هذا تم توضيحه، وبالإمكان الرجوع إلى نص المداخلة. الحاجية الثانية تتمثل في ضرورة الإنصات الجيد لطموحات الشباب وآرائه الإبداعية. وقد صنف الباحثون الشباب في العالم الإسلامي إلى 3 أصناف. يضم القسم الأول مجموعة من الشباب يعيشون في عالم الخيال، فهم يحلمون بالمكانة الاجتماعية المتميزة والحياة المليئة بالسعادة. قسم ثان يشمل مجموعة من الشباب الذين يعولون على أنفسهم، فهم لا يشعرون بالثقة بالنفس ويعتمدون في الحياة على الغير. قسم ثالث من الشباب يمثلون المجتمع ويتحملون المسؤولية ويسعون إلى بلوغ الأفضل وتحقيق الأهداف. العنصر الموالي وهو منح الشباب مزيد الثقة في تحمل مسؤولية الأنشطة الثقافية بكامل الحرية في النوادي الثقافية والمؤسسات التعليمية. وهذا ثم الحاجة الملحة إلى المعرفة الصحيحة بالقيم الإسلامية قصد مجابهة مخاطر العولمة الاتصالية والانحرافات السلوكية. ثم الوعي بضرورة التواصل الحضاري من أجل كسب معركة الإبداع على المستوى العالمي. هذا إذن ما يتعلق بالحاجيات. أنتقل إلى استراتيجية تربية الشباب المسلم على ثقافتي الحوار والتعايش مع الآخر. تتمثل هذه الاستراتيجية في وضع استراتيجية تربوية ملائمة لثقافتي الحوار والتعايش مع الآخر. هذه الاستراتيجية ملقاة على المسلمين من جهة وعلى الغربيين من جهة أخرى، فالمسلمون مطالبون بمراجعة الكتب المدرسية ومناهج التدريس. في مقابل ذلك على الغربيين الاعتماد على كفاءات تجمع بين القدرة العلمية والمهارة البيداغوجية في اختيار النص الذي يفي بالغرض ويتسم باحترام خصوصيات الثقافة العربية الإسلامية، ويتلافى الصور المشوهة للإسلام، ويضع حداً للحواجز التي تفصل بين الشعوب. نقطة أخرى: فتح آفاق جديدة للإبداع في إطار مؤسسات شبابية وثقافية تحسن التعامل مع الشباب تأطيراً وتوجيهاً وتحفيزاً على التواصل والإبداع الثقافيين دون عقد. كل ذلك تجدونه موضح. هناك نقطة أخرى تتمثل في التركيز على القواسم المشتركة بين الثقافات في سياق تثمين مكامن الإبداع في ثقافتنا الإسلامية وقيمها الحضارية والأخلاقية الخصوصية. ثم اعتماد خطاب إسلامي منفتح أو متفتح على البعد الإنساني. أصل إلى نقطة أخرى، وهي تتمثل في مراجعة مناهج التعليم، وذلك بتجنب كل ما يسيء إلى الآخر وحضارته. وأنتهي في الأخير إلى تناول آفاق استراتيجية تربية الشباب المسلم على ثقافتي الحوار والتعايش مع الآخر، وهي في قالب توصيات، وهي تتمثل أساساً فيما يلي: إحداث منتدى شبابي يضم شبابا ينتمون إلى جميع الأديان والأعراق، يمكنهم من الاجتماع مرة في السنة لمناقشة مجال حوار الأديان. ويمكن أن يتشكل هذا المنتدى من فرق تفكير شبابية متخصصة تضم أيضا علماء دين ومؤرخين وعلماء اجتماع ومفكرين وإعلاميين وذوي معرفة باللغات، وذلك قصد رسم استراتيجيات المستقبل وتلافي النقائص والثغرات الراهنة. تصور آخر أو إحداث موقع عربي إسلامي بشبكة الإنترنت يتولى متابعة صورة الإسلام لدى الآخر والعمل على تصحيحها في حالات الخطأ، ويشرف على هذا الموقع مختصون في مختلف فروع العلوم الإسلامية. نقطة أخرى: تدوين ميثاق عالمي للشباب يؤسس لثقافة التعايش السلمي والمثمر بين شباب العالم بمختلف انتماءاته الدينية والعرقية والثقافية والسياسية. وإذا ما تضافرت مختلف هذه الجهود فإن ذلك من شأنه وفق رأينا أن يؤدي إلى تأسيس مقاربة ثقافية مبنية على قيم إنسانية ناجعة تسهم في تصحيح صورة الإسلام لدى الآخر وتزيل وجوها كثيرة من سوء الفهم والخلافات، خاصة مع الحضارة الغربية، وذلك على المدى المتوسط والمدى البعيد، وتدعم بصورة موضوعية تربية الشباب على ثقافتي الحوار والتعايش مع الآخر. شكرا لكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
شكرا دكتور ميزوري، أولا على الالتزام بالوقت، وثانيا على هذه المداخلة المميزة والواسعة جدا في آفاقها. تحدثتم فيها عن المصطلحات أولا المرتبطة بمسألة الحوار، التعايش، العلاقة مع الآخر، وشكرا للتوضيحات التي تقدمتم بها. وثم حاولتم تحديد سريعا الحاجيات الرئيسية لشبابنا اليوم والبناء على هذه الحاجيات الاستراتيجية المطلوبة في عالمنا اليوم لإعطاء الشباب فرصة الولوج في عالم الحوار، وخاصة بما يتعلق بمراجعة المناهج التربوية والإشكاليات المرتبطة بذلك، مع الاقتراحات الأخيرة التي تقدمتم بها عن إنشاء منتدى شبابي وموقع عربي إسلامي يسعى لتصحيح صورة الإسلام وتدوين ميثاق عالمي للشباب. شكرا لكل هذه الأفكار والآفاق. أود فقط أن أضيف فكرة لهذه الورقة، وهي أن العالم العربي اليوم أيضا يحتاج إلى مقاربة مسألة التنوع في داخله وليس فقط ضمن الثنائية العربية الأوروبية. أعتقد فالتنوع أيضا إن كان ثقافيا أو إثنيا أو دينيا هو جزء من عالمنا العربي، وربما نحن نحتاج إلى التعاون أيضا لتعزيز قيمة احترام الآخر الذي نعيش معه في مجتمعاتنا، ونبني عليها أيضا التواصل مع الآخر الذي هو خارج العالم العربي، خارج سياق العالم العربي وبشكل أخص العالم الغربي. شكرا مجددا لهذه المداخلة القيمة، وننتقل إلى الضيف الثاني الذي سوف يقدم لنا الورقة الثانية، وهو السيد كلاوديو غريغوريو إبلمان. سوف أقدمه باللغة الإنجليزية. إذن الأشخاص يمكن أن ننتقل أو تنتقلوا إلى الترجمة من الإنجليزية إلى العربية. I will now speak in English to present our second speaker, who is Mr. Claudio Gregorio Epleman, And find it. 23. Okay, here it is. Mr. Ippelman is coming from Argentina, Latin America. He's the executive director of the regional branch of the World Jewish Congress, the Latin American Jewish Congress. In his capacity, Mr. Ippelman represents the Jewish communities of the region at high-level meetings with head of states and other social, political, and religious opportunities. In 2012, Mr. Ippelman coordinating the meeting between the Jewish leaders of Latin America and the Pope Benedict XVI. And we don't forget that he is coming from the country where the current Pope Francis is coming, where also. So he is, he has this chance to be a close friend with the current Pope for years, many years ago. All his work was recognized in 2007 by the Argentine government when Mr. Ippelman was awarded the prize for his work in the interfaith field. Mr. Claudio Ippelman, we are eager to hear you, and as our all speakers, you have 15 minutes to present your paper. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, shalom aleichem, good morning. First of all, I want to thank Professor Ibrahim Al-Naimi and all the Doha International Center for Interfaith Dialogue. And I want to congratulate the organizers for the election of the topic of this conference. I think this is a very relevant strategical issue, how to engage youth in interfaith dialogue. All of us knows that nobody was born with prejudice. The education creates them. But as well, education can destroy them. Education, in these terms, means work together, teachers, the parents, in the environment of the family, and religious leaders. 1 year ago, at the opening session of this conference here in Doha, I told that we know that if we sow prejudice, we will harvest hatred. History has proven this many times. Every day, as religious leaders, we face a choice of what kind of message we want to convey. So prejudice, stereotypes, and resentment in others, or love them as ourselves. Depending on the option we take, it will be the world that we build. According with the path we take, we can be the ones who achieve understanding among people and walk toward the peace. In this job of sowing, the Jewish generation can and have to do part of it. It is in this point where engaging the Jewish generation became in a very important issue. We believe that coexistence must be built, and as soon as we begin, the task will be easier. And for ensuring coexistence is a job for leaders. Only the leaders can do it. The coexistence between religions is not the product of the divine providence. Only the selflessness of the leaders to build it will make it a reality. The Latin American Jewish Congress, the organization that I represent, believes that the peaceful interfaith coexistence is built on the basis of the interpersonal relationship that allow the familiarity with each other's cultures and religions, permitting to overcome prejudice and developing trust for common action that addresses the common concerns of people from all faiths. Leaders plays a central role in this endeavor, given the position as key persons for reference in our religious communities. They are ones who can preach with the example as a model of peaceful coexistence. In this model, peaceful coexistence grows and deepens with the personal understanding of the others. And here is, from my point of view, the challenge for us, because young generation is not only the future. The young generation, the young leaders are as well the present. We have to bring them not only to learn from us how to do the things for the future. They have to take part of our leadership to share with us the leadership of our communities. And again, they are part of the present, not only the future, and we have to work together with the youngers. Interfaith Dialogue is the beginning of the process to build understanding and coexistence. In this world of globalization, Interfaith Dialogue is the human face of the globalization. And in the globalization, there is not place for racism and discrimination. There shouldn't be. But we know that there was. But we can't change the past, but we have to learn from it. However, we can build the future, and this is our second challenge, working together with the Jewish generation for building the future. So maybe we can ensure that we can realize our dream of coexistence between faith. Let me share a very short story about myself. I represent the World Jewish Congress, that is a global organization working in all the regions. And when I was appointed as an executive director of the Latin American Jewish Congress, that is the regional affiliate to the World Jewish Congress in Latin America. It was some years ago. I was 33 years old, and I was in the global staff, the youngest of the members of the staff. And one of my first initiatives was to create a new generation program. And we defined that new generation was between 25 and 40 years old, between 25 and 40s. And I could be part of this initiative as a member of the leadership, as well as a young leader. But it happened some years ago. And today, I am 45. And today, I can't be a member of this new generation program. So I think we have to engage the new generation and to work with us, but let's do it very soon because youngsters are growing old and we don't have too much time for do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rippleman, for this brief and condensed paper and presentations focused on youth and this huge challenge while we are working with youth to learn from the past, but to also build with them the future. And as you said in your conclusion, we have to do it very quickly, very fast, because the youth will also become elder, and then we can miss this opportunity of working with them directly from now and giving them the responsibilities also. I would like to emphasize on this very interesting point that you raised, making from interfaith dialogue the human or humanistic face of globalizations, and considering it as a beginning of the process of mutual understanding. I like very much this approach to consider that dialogue is not an aim by itself, but it's a starting point for a process that should lead to a better mutual understanding, and maybe beyond mutual understanding, reaching solidarity among people from different faiths, religious backgrounds, or cultural background. So thank you very much for this presentation. And now we'll go to our third speaker, who is Reverend Dr. Donald St. John Reeves. Our third speaker is coming from a European background, from the Balkan. Reverend Reeves is a director of a center called the Soul of Europe, founded in 2000 to create tangible signs of hope for Europe, and especially in the Balkan area. The Soul of Europe worked in Bosnia, Serbia, and Kosovo since 2000. In 2001, the center brought together the entire political leadership of Bosnia, religious leaders, the mayor of Banja Luka, and the International Center for Reconciliation to work with them on establishing peace, justice, and prosperity. Many other initiatives were taken by this important center in this very crucial area of our world and of Europe. And Reverend Reeves founded also the William Blake Society, the Piccadilly Film Festival, the Lufthansa Festival of Baroque Music. I recently knew that he is also himself a musician. And the Center for Health and Healing, the Center for Creation Spirituality. He's from the Anglican Church, and we are all of us eager to hear your intervention. Reverend Reeves, please, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you to DICID for inviting me. Now, look here. I don't really know much about young people, okay? We're always talking about youth. But I mean, who are these people? What are they? What I do know about is getting older, and I do know about what it means to be a mentor. And I want to talk about mentoring a little bit, because that's what I know about and how it can be useful to young people who themselves might see the need for some sort of mentoring. Mentoring is well established in the business world, particularly in America, and also in sport and in some education organizations. But in the area that I have worked for 13 years in the Balkans, conflict resolution, conflict transformation, interfaith dialogue, all these very big words, there are no mentors at all. When I started my work in the Balkans, in Bosnia, in 2000, I knew nothing about these subjects. And there was no one to teach me. Oh, I could go on courses and, conferences and all that stuff, and I read books, particularly inspired by John Paul Lederach. If you don't know his work, he's a professor of peace building at the University of Notre Dame in Denver. You should certainly know about him. But there was really nobody, no one who could show solidarity with me. So I think there is a need in this area of work, which we are all involved, to establish some sort of mentoring for younger people. You, old people, listen to me. You have a responsibility. You religious leaders, you imams, you bishops, you clerics, you teachers, you have a responsibility to pass on what you know to the younger generation. But you are not an omniscient advisor. We are people who stand shoulder to shoulder with the young people if they so need it. And the most important thing about being a mentor is that you become a good listener. It's much easier to speak, particularly if you're a teacher or an academic. You can be like this, you see, but it's much more difficult, I can tell you, to be a listener. And listening is one of the most important things about mentoring. And I think an old person, provided he or she is well in body and in mind, an old person is a person who has an opportunity for growth, not for diminishment, but for growth. And you old people, stop being so invisible and learn how to listen and start developing some skills as a mentoring. If we are so keen on helping young people, then we need to learn about being a mentor. And there are 4 things that I'm learning as a mentor, as a new mentor, which are very important. First of all, mentors cannot operate on the basis of existing experiences. The mentor does not rest on his or her past successes. Just because you're old, it does not mean you are wise. You may, for example, talk far too much or tell the stories of what you did 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. We're not interested in all that, because a mentor is a person involved in lifelong learning. And the mentor has to be able to recognize what is going on and what will go on in the future. You might say, how can you learn from the future? It's ridiculous. Not so. You learn from those intimations of hope which are emerging in any situation. And that's one of the things that those who are mentoring with younger people really have to learn, have to be able to see what is going on, what is hopeful in even the most difficult situation. I was involved, for example, for some years in trying to establish a memorial at Moscow in northwest Bosnia for the Muslims who were murdered there. Srebrenica is not the only place in Bosnia where things happened. And, we were told to get the Serbs together with the Bosniaks and try to create a memorial. It was about relationships, really. And it was really, really difficult. But we have to hold on to and find those glimmers of hope in that difficult situation. The second thing is a mentor has to learn and to recognize and to own up to the fact that we are living in a time of great uncertainty and confusion. And certainly a mentor may have to help a young person or the people that he is working with to let go of the old ways of thinking and doing things and letting new things emerge. And thirdly, and this is really difficult, but it's a very difficult but very important thing I'm trying to say. The mentor has to develop a way of knowing which is not measured in terms of targets. The whole target culture, the language, God knows what the language is like in Arabic, I can't believe. I'm talking about impact, targets, log frames, evaluation, these dreadful words. It's all gobbledygook, it's all complete rubbish. And those of us who have had to try to raise money through the European Union, for example, to get money for our work, using this extraordinary language of impact and targets and concrete. They love the word concrete. It's got to make a difference. It is complete and utter nonsense. And it's time that this was exposed. And the mentor must be aware that this is so, and he or she has to develop another way of knowing, which is the way of the imagination. The imagination is that capacity you have, we all have, to bring something new to birth from the very direct experience of our lives today. This is a way of knowing which we really need in the world of peace building and interreligious dialogue. It is really important. Don't get seduced by the market culture. It is a form of idolatry, it really is, and it stops and it ruins so many projects. Bosnia is absolutely littered with failed projects because of this ghastly way you have to try to get your projects going. But when we think about the imagination, this capacity to envision something new, this is something which the mentor really has to treasure. Because religion, our faith as Muslims or Christians or Jews, our faith, like the best of the arts, breaks through present understandings of reality and, as it were, offers a new landscape. And I think it's very important that those of us who are trying to be mentors foster and develop and nourish the imagination, and to keep that imagination alive. It's that creative spark in all of us. Meister Eckhart, who is a Christian mystic of the 13th century, talked about the spark of the love of God in the soul. And mentors have to keep that spark alive, else they become cynical and disillusioned, like so many international people are in the Balkans. I've been simply astonished by the cynicism of ambassadors and diplomats and United Nations and these people who arrive, come up with some ideas and go away again. And it is because, at a deep level, they have not kept that spark of the imagination, that spark of hope and of life and of love alive. So that's another thing that the mentor has to do. And lastly, the fourth point is that the mentor has to be able to take time with the people he is working with. You can't hurry things. You cannot hurry peace-building dialogue. It has to go at its own pace. And one of the difficulties, again, of trying to raise funds for this sort of work is because they want concrete results. As I was told by a British diplomat in Banja Luka, look here, she said to me, you've got to take care of the voters in the House of Commons. They voted us, we in the Foreign Office, and you've got to deliver. That awful word, deliver. Anyone who's keen on interfaith dialogue, interreligious dialogue, you should never use the word deliver. It's all right for delivering babies or maybe delivering post, but deliver, because it has that word, that instrumental word, which is so wrong about this approach. It's a lack of humanity, which is the thing. So these are four very brief things about the qualities of mentoring in today's world. So what do we do about it? Well, here's an idea. And I'm looking at you all now, individually. You can see me. Can you see? If what I've said is true about mentoring, then is it not necessary that we create a college of aspiring mentors where we can pass on what we have learned? And this should be a global initiative. So it's the first time I've spoken about this publicly. So I'm saying, if there are any of you who would like to see how we can take this further, how we can establish together some sort of college, initially face-to-face, but maybe as a virtual college later on, for aspiring mentors. And for younger people, are there any young people here? Hands up, the young people. Oh, they're always at the back. That's it. Oh, there's some in the front as well. But you guys, if you feel you would like to be part of this mentoring process, that you yourself would value the experience of a mentor, particularly the mentor who's a good listener, and it's much easier for me to talk here, sitting behind it, than it is actually really listening to people. But let's start together a college of mentors so that we can find a way of passing on our knowledge as and when we are asked. I think there's nothing more important when you get to my age to try and pass this knowledge on. Now, I've got here a copy of my speech, which is rather more academic. I can do the academic thing as well. It's here, and also some of my contact cards. So if you want to be in touch with me about, and don't be shy about it, please, and the women here particularly, don't be shy. I'm not going to eat you. I'm merely suggesting that we somehow learn and we can be somehow start developing the whole process of mentoring together. Take one of my cards, be in touch with me, And God knows we will try to find a way to meet somewhere where we can establish a college for aspiring mentors. So thank you, and may God bless us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Donald Reeves, for this paper presentation and for this idea, inviting us to endorse this role of mentors and to join your initiatives of having this mentors group or academy, or so to be able to pass on not just what we learned, but based on this to, as you said very interestingly and very well, to envision the future with youth, based on imaginations and not just on market rules and delivery expectations. So thank you very much. And now we will go to our fourth speaker, Mr. Juan Francisco Sucuelo, who is coming from Ecuador, from Latin America again. He is the Imam of the Islamic Center of Ecuador, Masjid As-Salam. He holds a doctorate degree in theology and religious studies, and he is the founding director of the Islamic Center of Ecuador. He has been awarded as a hero for his services to the Ecuadorian nation, and he translated many books into Spanish language, especially on Islam, and these books became very well-known and disseminated, especially after the 9/11 events. His books have become bestsellers since then, and he was nominated for the past 4 years, since 2009, up to now, as one of the 500 most influential Muslims on the world. So, Mr. Sucuelo, we are eager to hear your presentation and experience. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala hatim al-anbiya, nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ijma'in. I start by thanking the honorable organizers and the respected audience and the families back home who are now without our presence. The opportunities and challenges facing the youth today. I have 5 points. First is the presence of religious minorities in Latin America. The second is the issue of challenges of minorities, the youth minorities in the identity. The third might be the issue of youth attending educational structures. And the next one might be the questioning of vast natural resources in Latin America and how the youth they see. And the fifth one, if God allowed us to go that far, inshallah, the questioning of political issues for the youth, and final remarks. In this paper, I'm trying to portray the religious opportunities and challenges facing some of the segments of the youth today in Latin America. Even though there is an issue of belonging to a large nominal majority religious group that places other traditions and other denominations in the side of the minority group. The presence of religious minorities in terms of numbers, such as the Muslims, the Jews, and the Anglicans, the Christian Orthodox, the Protestants from different denominations, the Adventists and other respected traditions and groups constitute a challenge for young and adults, men and women. I'm affirming that in the major religious scenarios in Latin America, the youth are basically exposed to two angles of the religious world spectrum in terms of opportunity for dialogue, meaning basically between the Catholic and the evangelic Protestant, rather than having the richness of multi-religious engagement. The second issue that I mentioned, the challenges of the minorities, the youth, is the identity. Especially in the case of Muslim youth, where there is a constant questioning, are we part of East? Are we part of West? Are we a healthy byproduct of the two cultures? The young themselves, they said, should we consider a minority? Taking into consideration reliable figures suggesting the existence of about 25 million Muslims living in the West, meaning the Europe, the Caribbean Sea, the North, and Latin America. The term minority itself, it's not quite accepted by people born, raised, and exercising citizenships rights to live in secular democratic countries in Latin America, yet being placed as a minority religious group. The classic example is the conception of being a Muslim in Latin America. It resembles an immigrant from Muslim majority country, while on the other hand, Latin American Muslim represents Muslims of a second or third generation, or a reverted who happens to be a Latino by culture, but a Muslim by a religion affinity, who is a full citizenship, a productive individual, part of the society from day one, belonging to a new emerging Latino Muslim culture identity, not inserted, not going through a process of adapting to a new culture, very comfortable for what he or she represents, at the same time being comfortable living or having residence in the Western lands where they were born. Therefore, I should jump to the third, which is the issue of minorities. The issue of youth minorities attending schools. This group probably belonging to a certain religious minority of its own faith affinity, do not have proper educational structures. There is still in the development processing. The fourth might be the issue of questioning the vast natural resources in Latin America, acknowledging the fact that this continent has 31% of the world's fresh water, according to the World Bank study, while 70% of the world's children do not have clean water to drink, and 65% of the world's population does not have 3 meals a day. Young people of all faiths are also addressing the issues about the impact of the environment, the oil exploitation, the deforestation, and so on. The question for them are, should they become advocacy for natural resources, a greenish kind of people, or administrators on the earth. Proper religious circles of external cooperation must form in the pulpits and the members of different faiths and must be implemented in every possible scenario to work with the youth of all affinities, of all traditions, arm to arm, shoulder to shoulder, to revive our primary sentiment of brotherhood and sisterhood in humanity. As for being a resident in Latin America, it's not difficult to take a pulse at the grassroots level to sense poverty, gender inequity, religious discrimination, economical deep asymmetry between the rich and the poor, and so on and so on. As a strategy for religious minority, there is identity, there is a group named, religious group, organization named CONALIR in Ecuador. CONALIR is the Ecuadorian National Council for Religious Rights Advocacy. CONALIR is an example of institution that serves the religious minorities integration in Ecuador. This year, 2014, CONALIR launched a program engaging young participants of different religious groups, including the majority of the Catholics, the Muslims, the Adventists, the Gnostics, the Anglicans, the Baptists, the Evangelists, the Christian Greek Orthodox, in a plan for contingencies to combat natural disasters such as earthquakes, such as floods, fires, and disasters of different order. This was precise an opportunity that no other group dared to generate effort, and gave us a good result in engaging the youth of different denominations and different groups, with the aiming for saving lives. And myself particularly, I was at least 5, if not more times, in a surgery room, but this is not relevant for our conference. But 2-3 months ago, perhaps, a very close relative of mine was in an emergency room, pumping machines, defibrillators to rescue the lives, and the cooperation, the time value cooperation of the medical assistants, the time value cooperation of the team working of medical doctors and the nurses, the paramedics, and the helpers all over save the life of this relative, very close relative of mine. It was another perspective for myself, not being a patient, but being someone who was watching this life-saving. And this is what we need. Concluding my remarks, this is what we need as believers in faith of all traditions, of all denominations, of all religions, to come close together, to be conscious about the time that is precious for all of us to find the solution to the problems that the world is living now. And share responsibilities, the seniors, the youngs, the diplomats, the politics, the academics, all share responsibilities in saving the humanity at large, changing the society in the perspective of seeing just a materialistic and non-inclusive secular world into a more balanced lifestyle. I conclude by saying of our quotation from the Holy Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, تعالوا على كلمات سواء أن لا تعبد إلا الله ولا تشرك في عباد الله أحدا. Thank you very much to the audience. جزاكم الله خير بارك الله فيكم.
Thank you very much, Mr. Juan Chiquillo, for this also brief and condensed presentations that took us beyond, I think, the issue of dialogue, and you challenged us on the level of cooperation and solidarity and shared responsibilities, not just among or across generations, the elders and the youth, but also across communities, how we can together from different faith backgrounds or in a multi-religious context, hold together important social causes as economic causes or gender discriminations or any other social cause or development cause as the water issue or examples like this that you raised, which is very important for also, I think, for this panel to take into consideration the responsibility, as you said, of saving lives, because we do promote interfaith dialogue, and we would like to see a better mutual understanding among people from different faith backgrounds. But finally, the objective will always, that should always be to honor life and to save lives and to make from everyone life a better life and a better opportunity to live in this globalized and multicultural world. So thank you very much for adding this to our panel and reflection this morning.
Thank you so much.
We are missing our last speaker, so I will take this opportunity to add maybe some remarks on this. And I don't know if in the organization policy we can also open the floor for 2 or 3 questions, I mean, and the audience. So maybe I will make some very brief remarks and also keep some minutes to brief also comments and remarks coming from the audience. I would like that meanwhile we can arrange of having a micro for the audience, a mild micro too, because I already see some hands being raised. My very few remarks based on what we heard in this very honorable and interesting panel about youth and interfaith dialogue, I will try to wrap up in this way, highlighting or focusing on some basic issues that were raised. One of them, and the first issue that was raised by Dr. Missouri regarding the faith-based responsibility when it comes to educate on dialogue and about the others, and the educational responsibility, but also from a faith-based perspective, in instance from the Muslim or Islamic education perspective. And the issue of identity related to this. We heard also this issue of identity in 3 presentations and 3 papers going to this plural identity, if we can say, or what I prefer to use it is to think that each one of us has his own identity, but the identity has plural belongings. We belong to many different types of communities or backgrounds, but finally each one of us is responsible about his only and unique identity that he or she holds. So maybe dealing with this issue of identity as an inclusive a process of multiple belongings would be helpful in using it as a tool in our reflection in interfaith dialogue. And the other issue related to this faith-based responsibility, I heard it yesterday in some workshops in the afternoon, and again it was raised today. It's the question of tolerance. And I think, and I agree what was said yesterday in one of the workshops, that we need to go beyond tolerance. Tolerance is just recognizing the existence of the other and accepting his or her existence. But what we heard today, we heard something beyond this, which is valuing diversity, not just recognizing the difference, but valuing this difference and making from this difference a way for shared responsibility, for solidarity on the social level, or also more on the spiritual level. We heard also this very interesting challenge for us is not to make from dialogue an aim by itself, but a path, a way to lead for a better mutual understanding. And I'm always wondering, in fact, in such meetings and honorable conferences, what are our tools to measure and to evaluate how much we are progressing in this mutual understanding, how much the interfaith dialogue or such conferences are really helping in progressing in mutual understanding. I'm sure that there are great results being done. It's not about delivery here. It's just about at least I'm avoiding to be criticized from our colleague here, but we need to understand how much we are really feeding and enriching this imagination and this visionary approach for the future, but based on a real path that we are doing together and not just side by side. We are meeting and then each one is going to his own or her own context without any changes. And this is why I appreciate to add to our work not just the reflection as a mean, but also imagination, passing on not just experience, but the capacity to envision futures. And this is why I hope that we will always be eager to give the floor also to the youth themselves, because I think the youth can help us to envision in a better way the future and to see in a clearer way our farthest horizons and the future that they will draw themselves to their own lives. So based on these very few remarks, we still have a little bit less than 10 minutes. Maybe we can take 2 or 3 comments. If we have a microphone in the room, so please, you are the first to raise the hand. If you can introduce very quickly yourself. For the translation, I'm sure we will need that you speak in the microphone, because so if we don't have it, maybe you can come and take the microphone from the panel here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 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 So maybe let's say if you can make it very briefly, I will translate it very quickly. If you will speak in English or Arabic. Okay, great. But please, I will ask because we have to keep time also, and we are benefiting from this opportunity of having 10 minutes to make it very brief in maximum 2 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would just like to add, my name is Tarafa Bagajati from the Islamic community from Austria. I would like just to emphasize whatever all things you has been said, and thank you for all these presentations. Very important is in Europe, the empowerment and promoting the concept of multiple identity for the youth. This is very important, especially for our youth, because they are not from the same country. They do not have the same original language. They do not have the same cultural background, and this is very important. The next point I would say is the empowerment of self-organization of the youth. This is very important, and we have some examples from Austria. I will speak about that in my session afternoon. And I thank you very much, Imam Khwan. I learned today a lot of new things, till now, we Muslims, we think that the Muslims in Latin America, all of them are some of the migrants from Syria and Lebanon and Palestine, and now we learn something more. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I will take the intervention here. Sorry, I'm taking just the first I saw raising their hands. So, sir, here, the second row.
I saw the gentleman. This gentleman was first. I think. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum. Ahmed Maino from Japan Muslim Association. My question is how to, sorry to use the word of deliver, how to renew the role of responsibility from the senior to the youth, because Muslims in Japan are super minority, and Islamic organization in Japan, its responsibilities are seniors, of course, with all my respect to all my seniors. And that's reaching out activities, including interfaith dialogue and so on, needs enthusiasm. Contrary to what Dr. Donald, mashallah, I was very impressed with your presentation, as he was so enthusiastic. But the nature of seniors, it lacks its enthusiasm. So that the challenge in our communities are how to renew the role of responsibilities from the seniors to the youth with their contents, of seniors. So please advise us. Thank you. جزاكم خيرا.
Thank you.
سؤالي هل أترجمه؟ طيب يلا.
That's fine because we have the translation. We'll take just two brief comments. I saw the gentleman here in the second row. Please, can we pass the microphone here? And then a last comment. Yes.
حسن موسى من السويد. أنا فقط عندي 3 إشارات ربما مهمة جدا، لأنه لابد أن يقع حوارا وإلا نكون مستمعين أكثر، وإنما نريد أن نكون متكلمين، وإلا سوف يكون هناك حوار طرشان. بعض الناس يتكلمون وعلينا أن نستمع. هناك مثل تعلمناه في السويد ونمارسه حكومة وأقلية مسلمة: أنا لا أدعوك لكي تحبني، ولكن لا تتجاهل أنني موجود. وهذا الذي يطالب به الشباب والآخر عندما يتعامل مع الآخر. ثانيا، هناك ما يسمى بمفهوم سياسة الاندماج، ربما لا تعاني منها الأقليات في الشرق الأوسط، ولكن نعاني منها نحن كأقليات مسلمة في بلاد الغرب، حيث أن هناك سياستان: سياسة الاندماج مع الذوبان، وهناك سياسة الاندماج الإيجابي، وهناك تصارع إيرادات لدى صانع القرار الأوروبي. فمثلا عندنا في بلدنا السويد التي أعتز وأنا ملون بالانتماء إلى وأحمل هويتها وأتكلم باسمها وأشاركها أفراحها وأطراحها، نحن نؤمن بسياسة الاندماج الإيجابي مع المحافظة على الخصوصية. بعض الدول الأوروبية تريده اندماجا مع ذوبان. النقطة الثالثة وهي مهمة جدا وأختم بها: أنا من دعاة التعايش، ولكن لابد أن نكرس مبدأ ربما بدأ الاتحاد الأوروبي يقتنع به رويدا وكذلك الفاتيكان، وهو قضية أننا نريد مجتمع متعدد الثقافات والأعراق، يعني ما فيه فقط الشعر الأصفر والعين الزرقاء والألوان. إذا اقتنعنا بأننا يجب أن نعيش في كون متعدد الثقافات والأعراق والأديان، يمكننا فقط أن نعيش وأن نتعايش، وإلا سوف يكون هذا الكون معرضا للخطر، وهذا ما يطالب به الشباب. شكرا.
شكرا. And okay, the last comments, the sir Zaria, and we will conclude then after this last comment. Very briefly, please.
يعطيكم العافية جميعا. دكتور بسام بنات، رئيس دائرة علم الاجتماع التطبيقي بجامعة القدس. فقط بدي أشير لملاحظة: واضح أنه في هناك غياب للدراسات التطبيقية في مؤتمركم الموقر، بالذات اللي بتتناول مؤشرات حول رأي الشباب في العلاقات بين مختلف الأديان. فكل أمل في المؤتمر القادم أن يتم قياس رأي الشباب بأدوات بحثية نعرفها جميعا ونحللها إحصائيا آرائهم في هذا المجال. مع خالص شكري وتقديري لكم.
شكرا. Okay, we still have last comment. I think it will be the last.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. شكرا للجميع. بس حقيقة مداخلة بسيطة وأبغى تعليق عليها. يعني أنا أعتقد أن أول كره صار على وجه الأرض صار بين شباب، بين قبيل وهابيل، وكانت حقيقة قبل الديانات، قبل الديانة الإسلامية، وكانت قبل الديانة اليهودية، وقبل الديانات الوثنية، وقبل الديانات المسيحية. لكن وأمس شفنا عكس ذلك حقيقة، في مجتمع متصارع طائفيا ودينيا منحت حقيقة جوائز للأميرة فاطمة والشاب الروماني على جهودهم الخيرة والتطوعية. اللي أبغى تفسير له الآن، يعني أكيد في عامل أو متغير مستقل سبب رئيسي حقيقة في عنف الشباب وعدم تقبل الآخر، غير اللي احنا نذكره وندور عليه أبدا. في حاجة أنا أعتقد أننا مهملينه، وأعتقد أني لو أجد تعليق من عندكم، لكن أجد أن في الديانات حقيقة تعرضت إلى متغير أساسي وننكره دائما أو نتجاهله في تعليمنا وإعلامنا وفي حياتنا العادية، اللي قضية مثلا الشيطان وتدخل الشيطان في العملية هذه. حقيقة احنا نحرص على الجانب المادي الملموس، وحنا في حوار الديانات، وجميع الديانات أثبتت وجود الشيطان وعملية الشيطان، لكن حقيقة التصدي للموضوع هذا والتصدي للموضوع الغيبي هذا حقيقة منكر، ولا أجد حقيقة منه ملموس في أطروحاتنا، وأتمنى أجد تفسير للموضوع.
So, if the organizer agrees, I think we can propose 1 minute for each of the panelists if you would like to react, but just in 1 minute, and then we conclude the session. Is it okay? So 1 minute for each panelist. So maybe we'll start from the...
I think just 2 points. I think the way you, as it were, create relationships between the mentor, if you like, and the mentee, a terrible word, is actually through developing trust. And trust takes a very, very long time to develop. Certainly in Bosnia, we were regarded as either from the CIA, can you imagine, as some mad spiritual tourist, or someone who's arriving with a very big checkbook and giving out money to people. I mean, it takes a long time to develop a trust. The second thing, and it's a very important and difficult issue, it's a very difficult issue, is how you evaluate interreligious dialogue, interfaith dialogue, how you actually how you do it, and what are the theoretical is the theoretical basis. And I think that the market, the values of the market, just don't fit the sort of work that we are all talking about. And I think there's a sort of gap, and we have to find a way to evaluate it. And it's particularly important in Europe, where religion on the whole is regarded as a matter of choice and not having a proper space in the public square. So those are just 2 observations I wanted to make.
Thank you, Reverend Reeves. Mr. Iffelman.
I only would like to add a remark to your comment to his question. I think there is a tension, a natural tension stressed between the young generation and the older one. And we have to understand that it is a creative tension, and it is very positive, and it is part of the organizations. And we have to canalize in order to go forward with this tension, intergenerational tension.
Thank you very much. Dr. Missouri.
شكرا. فعلا هناك ارتباط وثيق بين مفهوم الحوار والتعايش والعلاقة مع الآخر، وأشرتم إلى موضوع الهوية، فقلت أن مفهوم تحديد كلمة الآخر يجب الاستناد إلى قيمتي الهوية والاعتراف بالاختلاف. وتحدثت عن موضوع الهوية في سياقها المركب والتعددي من حيث الأبعاد. وبالنسبة لتجاهل الآخر لا يمكن، لأن تجاهل الآخر يعني إلغاء التعايش إلغاء الآخر. فتكريس مبدأ التعايش يستوجب مثل ما أشرتم الأخ الجزائري إلى احترام الآخر، أي احترام التعدد واحترام الأعراق واحترام الألوان. شكرا.
شكرا دكتور ميزبوري. And Imam Squilla, please, if you would like to add also very briefly some comments.
Yes, thank you. Someone referred about the statistics and in the research. In Latin America and some countries in Latin America, especially in the Andean region part, very difficult to find accurate figures, statistics. Not even the government, not even the municipalities find easy to have statistics. Maybe the Latino Barometer institution in Chile, it's quite accurate, but in this issue reflects very, very little reference. As for the brother who addressed the issue between the seniors and the young, yeah, there is a natural gap, but it should try to be balanced out with some proper wisdom from the two sides, knowing that no one has the truth except God the Almighty, and we might try something as the administrators or the seniors or the leadership, which is needed for the youth to take them into the path of high goals. We can lead them to high goals, expectancy, while they might like to jump quickly, and this is natural. But a balance, and I might suggest the leadership and maybe Latin America, some other areas, to go along with the new media, social media. You know, if the youngs, they go for WhatsApp and Facebook, and yeah, we should try to learn and go along with them to speak the same language.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all of our panelists. Thank you for the audience. Wishing you a very nice day. I will conclude in one word in Arabic, saying that الثقافة العربية، يعني لأن المسألة أثيرت، مسألة الأقليات والتنوع في العالم العربي وفي الدول الغربية، أعتقد بأننا نستطيع أن نقدم الثقافة العربية كنموذج ليس لمسألة إدارة الأقليات، بل للتضامن بين الجماعات الدينية المختلفة، كما حصل في العالم العربي بين المسيحيين والمسلمين واليهود في صناعة ثقافة مشتركة، وعندها تسقط مقولة الأقليات ونصبح جميعا شركاء في وطن واحد، مساحة وطنية واحدة وثقافة وحضارة واحدة. شكرا لكم، أتمنى نهارا مباركا للجميع، ونجدد الشكر لمنظمي هذا المؤتمر. Okay. Now, so we have a break until 11 o'clock, and 11 o'clock we continue our program as usual.